Was I close to my brother growing up? The brother that I have been no contact with, my gosh, for 30 years. If you had asked me this question 10 years ago, I would have said yes. Somehow I looked at us at being close. And the way I define close now, as opposed to 10 years ago, is also different. I would have said we were close because we weathered storms together, even though he doesn't acknowledge them. I would have said we're close because of times as my big brother, he's 5.5 years older than I am, he stood up for me, not in the face of our mother, and I don't blame him for that, but in other situations. I would have said we were close because when he would sit waiting for his father and his father wouldn't show up for him, and by the way, the adults in his life would sit there and not go out and get my brother, who would be waiting on a doorstep on the stoop until, the sun kissed the ground and nobody coming out to get him. I would have said we were close because I would sit there with him. Partly because I was keeping him company. I didn't really have a concept as to what was going on. I was only 6 or 7 years old. And partly because I was hoping if his father did show up, he would take me too, because I didn't have a father in my life at that time. I would have said we were close because when my mother would ask me whether or not my brother was stealing pills from her Valley of the Dolls crystal ashtray, I would lie for him and say no. Looking backwards, of course, she told him I said yes and that I wasn't lying for him. I would have said we were close because we covered for each other and tried to keep each other safe. But the reality is we were never close because we were never allowed to be, because my mother pitted us against one another. And I didn't know in my childhood that he believed I was the family liar. I didn't know that was a part of the Kool-Aid that he drank. I had no way of knowing that because everybody else, all the adults, were so loud with that reputation that my mother built for me beginning at the age of 4. Yet I still wanted him in my life, and I still couldn't understand how he could live in the same house with me and see what he saw, experience what I know he experienced, and still side with my mother. And he's not siding with my mother. He just needs her more than he needs me. And I don't believe my brother is a narcissist. I kind of want to defend that. I believe that my brother has narcissistic traits that he learned, and that's how he survived, and he just never broke free from that. And because he's still with my mother, he likely never will.